Leaders in Kentucky's General Assembly are another step closer to their long-term goal to eliminate the state income tax. Passing with 90 votes, House Bill 1 is now on its way to the Senate. 3 years ago, they created a formula of financial triggers that, when met, would slowly initiate cuts to the income tax by a 0.5%. House Bill 1 sets the next cut in motion from 4% to 3.5%. Some Democrats joined Republicans in passing the bill, but not without giving warning about their view of the direction of the state's finances.
When we talk about reducing the income tax rate, we must ask ourselves, at what cost? What new consumption taxes will be added that puts a much greater and harmful financial burden on those who can least afford it?
Kentucky is a poor state. We are not going to tax our way to prosperity. We all want to support the Medicaid programs and the schools and fund all the things that we all care about. But you can't do it by overtaxing folks. We do it by growth.
7 Democrats withheld their support for the bill. Governor Beshear has previously said that he's likely to sign the bill when it reaches his desk. So we'll be taking a little bit of a break for the next couple weeks, and whenever we come back, this bill will now be in y'all's chamber. So Senator Thomas, I want to go ahead and start with you here. Do you think the debate that you heard some of your House colleagues talk about there, how similar will that be in the Senate?
I think it'll be similar, Bodie, but again, I've been on record for the last month that I am going to vote for the tax cut. It's what people want. And Bodie, frankly, it doesn't matter whether the tax cut you're going to receive is $5,000 or $50. If people get an extra amount of money in their pocket, to pay for groceries or to pay for medicines or whatever they need, they're going to take it. And right now we can afford the tax cut. We're still providing services in this state at an acceptable level. Certainly, as you've heard me say many times, I think we could spend more money and achieve the same result of cutting taxes. You can do 2 things at once. We don't think about that in politics, but you can do 2 things at once. But yes, I'm gonna vote for the tax cut. I will say, and I do primarily agree with my colleague in the House, Representative Adriel Camille, that my preference would be to see some kind of graduated tax system, but at the end of the day, I've always voted for the tax cut from 6 to 5, from 5 to 4, 5 to 4.5, excuse me, from 4.5 to 4, and now to 3.5. I've always voted for it, so I'm gonna vote for it again.
Well, let's bring you in now, Senator Bledsoe. What are your thoughts on the plan now that it's on its way to the Senate, and what do you think of the point being raised there by Senator Thomas? You saw with one of the floor amendments proposal about doing a graduated income tax. What are some pros and cons of that?
Well, we want to be wise with our tax dollars for sure. And on Friday morning, the Senate A&R Committee passed House Bill 1 out of the committee unanimously with support from both Republicans and Democrats. So it'll go on to the House or the Senate floor probably when we come back. So you can kind of guess where it's headed pretty quickly. And I think it's a strong move. We've learned from other states. Kansas went dramatically very quickly to 0, and you saw them not be able to fund the basic services of government. And so that's why we've had the trigger approach, why we've been very methodical and thoughtful over the last decade of kind of moving ourselves to a place where we can put more money back into the pockets. And Senator Thomas is right. We have to be mindful of the things that we're obligated to do. Pay for schools, pay for public safety, pay for education. There's lots of things that we need to do to provide basic government services. And we can do both things at the same time and provide more money to people in the pockets.
What about the graduated income tax there that I mentioned, or other points that are being made about this, such as that those who are more wealthier may get better benefit than those who are not as wealthy, maybe hit by more of the sales and consumption taxes?
Well, in some respects, you're absolutely right. If you make more money and you have a less percentage of a tax, that does affect you more. You're going to have more money to spend. And ideally, those who make more and have more, there's incentive to make more money. You'll have more money in your pocket to spend money on big things. That will in turn go into the sales tax and continue to grow the base.
Senator Thomas? Well,
Bodie, the reality is, even if your tax cut's going to yield you $50, as I said, or $100, that $100 a month is going to mean a lot to you. And people want that. They want that extra money, people to do what they want. They're not going to say, well, don't give me a tax cut because I'm not going to get as much as the wealthier person. And so because people want tax cuts, because they want more money in their pocket when they can get it, and we can give it and provide basic services to them or meet all the services that we're required to meet, I have no problem with that. Again, let me be clear. I'm not in favor of ever voting to increase consumption taxes, i.e. sales taxes or use taxes, to raise revenue at the expense of lower income people for the benefit of trying to raise revenue. I'm not going to do that.
We got a little bit less than a minute left in this segment here. So one of the points that was made in the House debate was that the state's revenue has been buoyed just a bit with some help from the federal government, and with some of that aid ending, that we may have to pay a bit closer attention to our funds as we move, forward by cutting the income tax. At this time, do either of y'all have any idea of how close we may be to getting to zero, how long that process may take, what that timeline will be?
Well, I'm going to yield to the co-chair of the Senate Appropriations and Revenue Committee to answer that question.
It's a good question. I wish I had a looking glass that would tell us exactly when we would get there. And there's a lot of factors at play. I think if they change the federal Medicaid requirements and how much we pay as a percentage in Trump's administration, that will have a very immediate impact on our budget. Likewise, some of his fiscal policy may see us having a lot more growth, and we may get there faster, some on the revenue side. So it's something we're being very thoughtful, and I would speak for Chairman McDaniel, we're very, very cautious, very thoughtful. We want more people to have more dollars in their pockets, but we also want to be responsible governors of the economy and of our state. And so we're going to be very wise, and I would say we'll see.
All right, we'll have to leave the discussion there.